And we are live. Welcome to another edition of the MMK Show. Today, we're going to be talking to two of the most influential and highly respected experts in the Amazon and e-commerce world, Mike Jackness and Dave Bryant. And they're also coming with us to India in October. So stick around if you have any questions about e-commerce, selling on Amazon, starting, scaling, and exiting a brand. These two people are the right people to answer your questions. Mark and Kevin, how are you guys doing?
Really well. Cold, but well.
Yeah, really well, Magla. Yeah, thank you.
Excited about the October trip? Just 2 months to go.
It's coming around pretty fast.
Yeah, we quickly run out of time, Magla. It comes around quickly when you're busy.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we've got Ecom India Summit this time too. So two
Yes,
back-to-back events.
Busy couple of weeks in India.
Absolutely. And we also have to tell everyone that we are doing India sourcing trip only once a year moving forward. So in case you are thinking about joining us on the trip, this year October is consider joining this year's October trip, because the next trip is going to be held next year in October. So we're not doing the March trip to India. Instead, we're doing a Vietnam trip in the spring. So we've got Vietnam in the spring and then India in fall. So that's something to just keep in mind if you are thinking of coming on the trip. October is the right time, October of this year. Otherwise, you've got to wait for another year. Cool. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to invite our guests on stage. So we've got, hi, Mike and Dave. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Very
guys.
good.
Good gentlemen, or good evening, I should say. To you.
Good evening over here. Yep.
So where are you guys joining us from? Mike, where are you?
I'm in the Washington, D.C. suburbs, visiting my mother-in-law. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and so we're here actually picking her up and moving her back to Vegas with us on this trip. And so I carved a little time out to chat about India and e-commerce while here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Dave, where are you joining us from?
I am joining from Vancouver, Canada. So I've been born and raised in Vancouver and lived here all my life. As we had chatted about before, Megla, I've lived in China for a bit of time, traveled a lot of the world, never been to India. So really looking forward to the trip here in almost 2 months to the day.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, almost 2 months. Oh my God,
Yeah,
yes.
crazy.
Not much time left at all. Cool. So let's start with introductions first, and then we have a couple of questions, for you guys and everybody watching. If you have any questions at all about selling on Amazon, sourcing, exiting, marketing, feel free to type your questions in the chat, and Mike and Dave will be answering your questions. So let's begin with introductions. Mike, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm the grandfather of e-commerce and doing stuff online. It feels like these days. I'm approaching my 20th year anniversary of quitting my job and doing stuff online. Started in affiliate marketing, and the last 10 years or so the other half of it has been in e-commerce. I actually owned the domain treadmill.com, and it was an affiliate site at one point. And we one day woke up and was like, I want to do e-commerce instead. And so we started selling fitness equipment online, and the rest is kind of history. But through that period, we ended up selling treadmill.com, bought a brand called Ice Wraps, which we still own today, which I'm looking forward to trying to sell next year. We started and sold ColorIt, which was kind of what we are most well known for 7 figures in 2019. Ran that for a few years. We had a baby brand called Wall Baby, which we recently sold, a tactical brand, which we sold. And we actually just sold another business for 7 figures in the home hardware space on June 2nd. So it's been kind of a whirlwind. I'm still fresh off the high of that, but also it's kind of crazy. Like you think, oh, I'm going to sell something and just be done with it, but there's all the post-transition stuff, and you still have all the paperwork to do do your final tax returns and close everything up, and it's just a lot of extra work. So. And then Dave will talk about his experience as well, but Dave and I have known each other for a long time, and we run a site called EcomCrew together, which is a blog and a podcast that's gotten well over 1 million downloads now, and we're well past episode 500 at this point, which is kind of crazy. We've been at this for quite a long time, and our differentiator, because there's a lot of podcasts out there. There was a lot of podcasts when we started years ago, but now there's even more, obviously. But our thing is we share our brands. We talk about the exact brands and products and things that we sell, and we talk about our successes, but also like all of our failures and things that don't go right. Because oftentimes in business or in this kind of influencer space, it's always like e-commerce is super easy. If you're not doing it, you're stupid, and you could be making millions of dollars like by just sprinkling our magic pixie dust on stuff. And our thing is, that is far from the truth. I think e-commerce is quite difficult, but highly rewarding and can create a huge moat if you do it correctly. And Dave and I have, I've lost a lot of hair over those years, but it's also been really rewarding. So
awesome, yeah, you're living the Amazon dream.
Something like
starting,
that.
Scaling, exiting multiple businesses.
How many exits did I count there, Dave?
Well, from e-commerce, this was our sixth.
3 or 4?
Yeah.
Oh, more than, yeah. Well, that's a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah. My gosh.
My big thing
Dave,
now, though, is to do one thing. So I'm a new Mike Jackness. I've really, between masterminds and reading books and 20 years of just, juggling many, many businesses all at once. I mean, I think it's, I'm getting close to 50. Maybe it's an age thing. Also, I think it's probably time to just start enjoying some of the rewards of all the things that we've done up to this point. And so, it's not quite ready to retire. So it's like enough to keep me interested in the game, but with a lot less stress. So that's my mantra for the next couple of years. Well, and Dave doesn't think I'm capable. So we'll see. We'll see if I can. How long I can hold out for.
Mike and I are still working out the wager amount for the probability that he actually keeps one thing on his plate. And I think that's kind of the entrepreneurial disease, is that you see a rabbit and you chase it, and before you know it, you're chasing 5 or 6 different rabbits. And Mike and I both have the same disease. I think he's afflicted by it more than I am, but we definitely both have that disease. And totally echo what Mike said, is one thing is ideal, or at least 1 or 2 things, and not 5 or 6.
And I'll tell you guys, 50, you're not too old at all. 50 is a great age.
It's all perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 90-year-old wishes he was 50, and the 50-year-old wishes he was 20 again, because that's right about the age where you're like, damn, like all those people were right. Like, eventually it'll catch up with you.
It sure does.
Cool. So Dave, tell us about yourself.
Cool, and I'll try to keep it fairly brief. So unlike Mike, I've never really actually had a full-time job. So I'm slightly younger than Mike, and when I graduated university in about 2008, that was kind of the time of the Great Depression, and realized that basically I was unhireable, both by nature of my own qualities and the fact that the employment market at the time kind of sucked. And so I started an e-commerce business, and that first e-commerce business was anchoring.com. So we actually literally sold probably the absolute worst thing you could ever sell as an e-commerce entrepreneur, and we sold boat anchors. But believe it or not, the business actually did fairly well, and exited that business in 2016. Right after I exited the company, I did what every entrepreneur does after they sell their company. I went and I got a job for 3 days at an Amazon FBA warehouse, just to kind of see the inner workings of it. So for 3 days, was walking around an Amazon warehouse here in Vancouver, and ironically, an oversized Amazon warehouse, and picking up the biggest, heaviest things that the robots on Amazon warehouses can't pick up, and basically dropping them off at the packers. And so I did that for about 3 days. It was a great podcast, a great YouTube video, great blog content as well. And then shortly after that, after quitting that job, moved with our family to China. So I guess I should mention, most of my background has always been in sourcing from China. And so anchoring.com, all of our products were coming from China. We moved to China basically, number one, just for our daughter could pick up some Chinese, and also to start a new business, offroading.com. And so lived in China for about a year, started that business. Along the way, unfortunately started a couple other things, and became a victim of that disease that we were talking about, of having too many things on my plate. But all 3 of those brands are going strong now, but really excited actually to learn about sourcing from India. So we did start sourcing from India a little bit earlier in the year, and it's been a little bit of trial by fire, and looking forward to actually getting on the ground and seeing things in person and seeing what things we can import from there and what things that maybe we can't import from there. So really excited about getting into India and diversifying our sourcing countries a little bit away from China, because I do think that is a lot of the future, is not relying on one country, and especially not China necessarily too, with kind of the uncertainty that goes with it. And I think that that's kind of my background in a nutshell. And like Mike talked about, run ecomcrew.com and check it out. Lots of free content on there. We've been doing it for nearly 10 years now, and a lot of excellent free content about not only Amazon, but running an e-commerce business in general.
Amazing. I mean, there's so much experience between the two of you. It's incredible. We're so looking forward to hanging out with you in India.
Well,
okay, so let's get started. Mark, do you want to get started first?
Yeah. Well, look, obviously, I think these guys probably can answer this question really well. And let's start at the beginning. You're starting off on an Amazon journey. Like, how much emphasis should you place on the brand name, and how important is that in the relevancy of the actual name to the product? A lot of people I know spend months deciding on a brand name. Can you clarify what they should do?
Yeah. Probably shouldn't spend months on a brand name. I think that's probably a little extreme. You probably have a tendency to get analysis paralysis with a lot of things if you're taking that long to pick a brand name. I do think a brand name is important. I think it's highly important, actually, because what I've learned over the years of business is it's probably better to begin with the end in mind and not just start winging things in the beginning, because at some point you're probably going to want to sell on different channels than Amazon, and so your .com should probably be available, and it should be something that's a brand name that people can pronounce and spell easily, and something you can get a trademark for, and a whole bunch of other things. And so I do think the brand name is very important. I mean, I would be looking at something where it kind of aligns up with all those things, right? You can get the exact match.com available. Like ColorIt was one of those examples. The business that I bought, we started with the brand name. Like, I knew what I wanted to do. I looked for a few days and found that name available for a couple $1,000s. I bought it off of somebody. I made sure there wasn't a existing trademark for it, and we were off to the races. And so, and I do think that the brand name there led to part of our success, right? I mean, it was not Mike's coloring books or something that was just kind of abstract. It was, I mean, or more difficult to kind of to pronounce or to remember or whatever it might be. So I do think it's important, and I think that branding is not going to help you get your first sale on Amazon, or maybe even your second or third, but certainly over time it does. I mean, even something like ice wraps, for instance. I'm restructuring all of our PPC campaigns right now, and ice wraps is one word for our brand name. And one of the things you're going to want to do for your PPC campaigns is to bid on your brand name and be defensive for that. And it will show you pretty quickly, if you've done a good job over the years building a brand name, how many people are searching that. And so there are people, dozens or hundreds of people a day on Amazon searching ice wraps as one word, looking for our brand. And so branding is certainly an important component, and that wasn't one that we chose. We bought that brand, right? So it was a little bit different. We bought that in 2005. I might have chosen a different name if I was starting from scratch, but that was the one that we inherited. So, but again, it's easy to spell, easy to remember. We were able to get the trademark for it. It kind of fits all the things I was mentioning. So I would say it is important, but don't not start your business for 6 or 9 months because you can't come up with a brand name. That's just lunacy. You're probably again, suffer from analysis paralysis, and that's another whole problem for other aspects of running a business.
Yeah, just a little color I'll add to that answer as well. From an Amazon perspective, if people are looking for a brand name, just a couple tips. Number one, try to keep it as short as possible. I think Mike and I have both been a victim of this, where our brand names have been probably on the longer side. And what happens is normally your brand name is going in front of your title on Amazon. So if
Yep.
your brand name is 30 characters, you are losing the 30 most important characters to your brand name on your Amazon title. And that's not a good thing. You want the important keywords to be a part of your title in the front part of that title. So try to keep your brand name short, ideally, 10 to 15 characters. If you're anything beyond that, now you're getting a bit long and you are losing valuable title space, because that is going to be your most important SEO space when it comes to Amazon SEO. The other thing is too, brand names are extremely hard to change after the fact. And the worst thing you can run into is if you do run into a trademark dispute with another brand. For that reason, I've always tended to go with what they call fanciful brand names, so made up names rather than names which could potentially conflict with another brand. There was a really famous example about, I guess, 10 years ago with Apple and the Beatles, where they both had conflicting trademarks, and it resulted in a multi-billion-dollar settlement from Apple. And you don't want to run into that same type of thing. So fanciful names, although they're not necessarily beautiful, something like BYZE garment company, it's not beautiful, but at least you almost eliminate the risk entirely of running into a trademark dispute with another company. And so that would be my other piece of advice. Fanciful names, just made up names, sometimes are a good thing to have because you avoid potential legal disputes.
And one word or two words?
Oh, sorry. I just want to say something just real quick here. I can paste in the chat. Oh, there's a whole bunch. So let's see. I'll paste this in the private chat maybe, and then you guys can share this link if you want.
Okay.
There's this really cool URL here that will help you find a brand name. And so what it'll do is you tell it basically what it is that what kind of site or what kind of a brand you're starting, and it'll go out and find if the domain name is available and if there's a trademark already for that. And then to answer your question, Megla, in terms of one word or two words, I mean, it's basically impossible to get a one word brand name at this point, unless it's completely made up. Like, I mean, eBay wasn't a real word and Google wasn't a real word when they started. So you can come up with something like that. That's one word that's, like Dave said, kind of fanciful. It's not like a real thing. Basically everything that we've done has been two words, wild, baby, ice wraps, ColorIt, and those are all things that were, again, we made sure in advance that they were trademarkable. And some of them were a little bit more challenging than others. Like ColorIt, there was already someone else in that space, and we had to work a little bit harder than we might recommend for other people. But that was a name that we really liked and wanted to go with, and we ended up getting to the finish line there. But yeah, this little AI tool here will help you go find a whole bunch of different .com names that are available and tell you if the trademark is open or not.
Okay, very, very useful. So in terms of protecting the brand name, so once you finalized your brand name, how do you go around, protecting your brand name? And do you recommend getting trademarks and everything before you even start selling?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of in a situation in 2023 and beyond where having your trademark right at the beginning is a necessity. It unlocks brand registry on Amazon, and it's pretty hard to compete without brand registry these days. And also you want all the protections that brand registry affords. The good news is, though, that getting a trademark is easier than it's ever been. Amazon has a program that makes it a hop, skip, and a jump to get the trademark, and you can actually get brand registry before you even have the trademark awarded if you go through that Amazon program. And maybe Dave can tell you guys a little bit about that program real quick.
Sure. And the program Mike's referring to is IP Accelerator. And for any brand that we're starting, that's the first thing basically that we do is, number one, we register our brand through IP Accelerator. And what IP Accelerator does is it's basically Amazon partnering with a select pool of lawyers who will go out and register your trademark for you. You're paying a small markup to these Amazon approved lawyers, and you basically get instant access to brand registry in Amazon. And brand registry basically are table stakes now if you do want to sell on Amazon. So if you're not a part of brand registry, it's pretty hard to sell on Amazon and to compete on Amazon. Technically, you can do it. It's just very hard to compete against every other seller who does have it, because brand registry does give you access to a lot of things, as I'm sure a lot of people here in today's webinar know. the other thing I'd add about getting your trademark and doing it kind of quickly is there are two types of trademarks that you can get. One is basically a word mark. So that would be like Mike Jackness would be a word mark. The other thing that you can get is what they call a design mark. And that would be for both the logo and how the words appear in that logo. So for example, McDonald's has their great yellow arch, that whole logo trademarked as a design mark. And you can do that for your brand too. So for all of our brands, that's basically the first thing we do is we get a design mark because it instantly basically gets approved by the USPTO. And that's who you need to get your trademark registered through. And you're not going to get any opposition like Mike talked about with ColorIt. Now, ideally, you should get the word mark too, because it does give you a little bit stronger protection down the road. But you can get almost any trademark approved by trademarking the fonts and the logo that are associated with your with your brand name. So people here can go just do a little bit of research on trademarks, design marks versus word marks. And the little takeaway here, the TLDR, is design marks are way easier to get approved than word marks.
Okay, so is one regarding sort of building your brand. Should all the products be of the in similar niches, or can they be of different materials and be a bit of a mixed variety of sort of products that relate back to that brand name? Or would you suggest that the products have to have a some kind of link or a togetherness?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different trains of thoughts on this, right? I mean, some people run conglomerate type brands where they'll sell kitchen products and bath products and fashion products and car accessories and just be kind of all over the place. I'm much more of a fan of narrowing in on something. Again, ColorIt was a coloring book for adults company, right? So we sold coloring books and gel pens and markers and all the things that were related to that and stuck into that niche. While Baby was stuffed animals just for kids, ice wraps as ice packs. I think that you can get yourself in a lot of trouble just trying to be everything for everybody. It's hard to be a brand and build a following when you get into too many things. And obviously you can niche down too narrowly and not have enough products to expand your business. You can be too far at the top and be in this huge sea. So there's like kind of a sweet spot somewhere in there. But after running the gamut with this, my recommendation would be to pick one brand and one company and stick with that and only that, and focus all of your energy into running one company that has a very narrow focus. And again, you don't want to pick a company that only sells colored pencils, because now it's probably a little bit too narrow. So you want to be maybe one step above that, but you also don't want to be an arts and crafts supply house, right? Where now you're selling sewing supplies or knitting supplies and glitter, and you're like all over the place, because it just gets to the point where it can be overwhelming, and it's your targeting is super wide. Certainly there are companies that are successful there, like a Michaels, if you're in the United States, is a great example of that. But these are $100 million, billion-dollar companies, and success these days, over the last 5 to 10 years, and where I think things are going to continue to go over the next 5 to 10 years, especially, are like kind of in these micro niche brands, right? Where whoever is running it is probably passionate about what they're doing, has some personal association with it, and therefore is really relatable as a brand to their customers. And there's a lot of synergies there, and so I recommend sticking in that playground versus just chasing numbers or trying to be everything to everybody. Because again, this is just speaking from experience. We've been in this spot where a lot of these brands, you can kind of tell like they don't have a lot to do with each other. Ice packs and kids toys and coloring products and home hardware. I mean, looking back at it, I think we would have been better off picking one area and sticking just in that, because as you're trying to like run all these different companies, you're having to like maintain social media accounts for all of them and send out emails to your whole list, and launch your Shopify store and then manage a whole team. And it, again, it can be done. There's certainly lots of people out there that do it, but the people that I've known that have been the most successful have been more narrowly targeted. And I look back at my own career and the times where I've had fewer things to keep my eyes on, and just been more successful with it.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. My big kind of word of advice I always give people, you want to pick a niche where you have potential to eventually develop 20 to 50 products. So if you're in a niche where you can only develop ever one product, that's going to be a really narrow niche. So for instance, would be tennis. What can you really source and develop around tennis? Well, you have the rackets, you have some shoes, and pretty quickly your potential catalog thins out. And that's great if you're going to be a big multinational company who's selling into brick and mortar, and just your traditional retailer. That's fine. But in today's e-commerce world, basically your quickest way to growth is to expand your product catalog. And if you have a niche that's conducive to expanding that product catalog, something like boating or off-roading, camping, hiking, that type of thing, where you have that growth to grow and expand your product catalog, it's going to do you wonders as you grow that brand over time. And definitely stick within that same niche too, and don't venture out into different niches, especially within one brand.
Okay. So now with
We have one question.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, we have one question from Iqbal Hussain. Would you suggest to go ahead for trademark brand registry with product launch, or does it make sense to test the product in the market first?
Yeah, I mean, my personal recommendation would be to get the trademark and brand registry first. Again, there's different trains of thoughts here. It's hard to answer a question like this in a complete vacuum. Maybe it's something where, it's you think it's new to the market and it's risky, or whatever. And you're trying to take a flyer on it real quick and just kind of get some testing done. There's always like these outlier answers to any question, but in general, I really strongly pretty much believe that you should have your brand picked out first, have your trademark done first. It prevents you from launching and then finding out someone then grabbed that brand name or something happened, or and again, as Dave said, I mean, I'll use word for word, brand registry is basically table stakes at this point, right? I mean, if you're going to be launching, it's hard to compete without brand registry, because now you don't have an Amazon store, you don't have a storefront, you don't have sponsored video ads, you don't have product display ads, you can't do headline search ads. You have zero recourse if somebody hijacks your listing. There's a whole bunch of other things that brand registry gets you as well. It also, there's just a whole bunch of things, right? So, I mean, for me, it's, you've identified, this is what you want to do, right? You want to start selling stuff on Amazon or selling stuff online. And this is not a huge expense in the grand scheme of things to get that domain name, get that brand name locked up, get the trademark done. You can do it again with IP Accelerator. It's $750 or something relatively cheap to get that done. And I think with anything in life, it's best to put your best foot forward and you start with the best potential chance for success, right? And so I would do it first. That's just my recommendation. Certainly, I'm confident and secure enough in myself what I'm doing these days that I wouldn't even think twice about it, right? Like, if this is what I'm going to go do, I have a winner's mindset with anything I do. So it's like, I'm going to go be successful with this. I'm going to invest the time and energy up front. And, again, over 20 years, you see all the potential pitfalls that can come out of not having your ducks in a row. And then when you go back, you're scrambling later. As Dave said, it's very difficult, especially on Amazon. They make it damn near impossible to go back and change the brand name later. And so you're best off to just to get it done now.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So how important, when you're selling on Amazon, is it to have your A+ content in your storefront, like up and running when you start? A lot of people say, I'll just get all my listings up, but I'll worry about it later. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really important to have all that stuff done from day one, right? I mean, look, you're not going to be able to do as good of a job on day one as Dave or myself with your listings. I mean, we've got almost 10 years of experience each selling on Amazon. right? And so like I get that there's a there's a hurdle here, but at the same time, it's not that difficult. I mean, a lot of people like to make selling on Amazon seem like this really mysterious thing. They're usually people that sell a course and make it sound way harder than it needs to be. You can get images created on Upwork that look as good as anybody else's, or 99 Designs, or some other platform that does something like this. Same thing with your A+ content. But you only get one chance to make a first impression with anything in life, and Amazon is definitely that type of platform. And so if you launch with kind of like a half-hearted effort, you're only going to get the honeymoon period once. It's not a hearsay kind of period. This is pretty much completely determined by people like us that have been selling Amazon for a long time. And so it's way easier to launch with a premier listing, with really good copy, really good keyword research, really good listing images, good A+ content, prepared to launch on Vine, good PPC strategy, than to try to make up for it later, because it's harder to dig yourself out of a hole on Amazon than it is to just do it right to begin with. And so from my perspective, it's important to make sure you're doing all that stuff right. And I do understand that I just said a lot, and it seems so easy to me because we've been doing it for so long, but it's probably overwhelming to a lot of people listening to this. But it isn't as overwhelming as a lot of other things I've had to learn in my life, right? It's the bar is not as high as it's maybe made out to be. I think that there, especially in this day and age, there's so many platforms. Like when Dave and I started, we didn't have these resources available that exist today to get a lot of these things done.
Right. We also had a question from Bill that was submitted early on. So from a blank slate, all things being equal, how do you find cheap new products that can scale? The top 3 methods you use to find the golden balloon, the exciting peanut, the gem, the holy ...
This must be Bill Greenbaum from
Yes,
Vancouver.
this is Bill Greenbaum, and I think he's live with us. Bill, are you here?
Yeah.
Drop a hi if you're here.
I saw him in the chat.
Yeah.
This
Bill
is
types
probably one that's perfect for Dave to answer. He loves these research questions.
Bill types the same way he talks, so that's how I recognized the name. So I guess can you just repeat the question one more time, Megla?
It's on the screen there, Dave.
Okay, it is. Let's see. Why do I not see it? But I think the gist of it was basically how do you, what research tools are we using to find the golden goose that lets us retire with cocktails on the beach? And so in terms of the tools that we're using, number one, Amazon has rolled out a whole slew of new tools in the last year, and there's a lot of debate about why Amazon has done this. And kind of the consensus is that Congress was really pushing Amazon for, hey, you're using all your proprietary consumer data that you have on Amazon and pushing your own private label products. You need to give access to third-party sellers that same data. So Amazon, for whatever reason, has released a lot of new tools that give you access to a lot of data, which has put some of the third-party tools like Helium 10 and Jungle Scout not necessarily as irrelevant, but slightly more optional. And the most important tool really that Amazon's developed probably in the last 10 years is Product Opportunity Explorer. And Product Opportunity Explorer is going to give you not only kind of the sales of particular items, but also the search volume around what terms those products are actually ranking for. So if it was garlic presses and garlic press peeler was the number one search word, it would tell you that as well as the search volume. And so that's the first place I look is, okay, what is the search volume around a particular product? So again, if I have my niche, let's say it's boating, and I'm looking at importing dock lines, first thing I'm going to do is go into Product Opportunity Explorer and see what are the top products there, what keywords are they ranking for, and then what is the volume of those keywords? And this is where I think my strategy differs from some other people, and especially I would even say a lot of people first starting off, in the fact that when I'm looking for products, I'm looking for products that sell $5,000 to $20,000 a month. I'm not looking for these home run products that sell $100,000 a month or $1 million a month. I'm looking for these singles and doubles that do $5,000 to $20,000 a month. And what that means in terms of search volume is I'm looking for keywords which have a search volume of around 1,000 to 2,000 searches per month. And If the main keyword has that search volume of around 2,000 searches per month, that means that with all the kind of ancillary search terms and long tail search terms that go with that main keyword, you're probably going to get to about $5,000 to $20,000 a month in revenue for that product if you can get it ranking in the top 5 to 10. So that's kind of my first strategy is I go to Product Opportunity Explorer in Amazon. I find out what the search volume is for a particular target product that I'm doing. The second thing I do to kind of find the golden goose is it really comes down to niche. Like you got to pick your niche first and foremost, because if you're in the wrong niche, like I kind of talked about before, it really makes it hard to build your product catalog and grow your product catalog. So first thing I do is I find a niche that I can get passionate around, which other people are passionate around, and that has a wide spectrum of different products that I can develop products in. And once I have that niche, then it just makes it narrowing down in Product Opportunity Explorer a lot easier. So again, if I'm in the boating niche, I can just simply go into Product Opportunity Explorer, type in boating, and it's going to return me a lot of different products that are selling well on Amazon. And also some products that aren't selling well, which sometimes can be an opportunity in itself if a product's not selling well. Well, maybe it's just not optimized right. So that's kind of my strategy. Used to start with Helium 10 and Jungle Scout. Now it's starting with Product Opportunity Explorer.
And are you also using any AI tools? I mean, Mike, I know you've been experimenting with AI, and you're also going to be doing a workshop in India about using AI in your e-commerce business. So are there any tools that can be used for product research?
Yeah, let me just, I was going to build on what Dave was just talking about just real quick, just to throw some other experience in there, because I think, it's the tendency of an entrepreneur, you want to hit those home runs, right? Like it was kind of the question there, like how do you find that home run thing? And certainly I spent a lot of years chasing those types of products, and we had a lot of success with it. So this is a little bit hypocritical because we have had success with that. But in recent years, I've kind of come to the conclusion that, mostly just from collaborating with Dave and seeing this stuff with my own eyes, that, it's a lot easier looking where everybody else isn't. Right? When someone goes on Helium 10 or Jungle Scout, they're putting in, I want to see thousands of sales or $50,000 or more a month in sales volume, or 10,000 searches a month, or whatever criteria they're like looking for these home run type products that they're that they want to launch and become a millionaire off of one product. The business that we just sold on June 2nd, we owned it for just under 3 years, and we more than doubled that business, and we sold it for way more than double what we paid for it, because we increased enterprise value by more than double. And all of the products that we launched, 100% of them were all singles. It was all $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month products that, when you do one of those a week, which is what we were at that pace with our team, it really adds up. Our number one hero product for that business was 8% of sales. Number two was 5%. And then from there was like 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, a whole bunch of ones. So, I mean, like I look at our other businesses where inevitably you have 60% of your business is coming from your hero product, and you're on edge at all moments, because like if that one product starts to deteriorate in any way, your business is in a lot of trouble. It also makes it less appealing when you go to sell it. This business had multiple offers in a time where, there just isn't as many interested parties. We even had aggregators that made offers on our business, and it was all because it was a very well diversified business that had a very wide web of catalog. All the products related to each other, so they were all from the same manufacturer. They all had a similar look and feel, et cetera. But like, there was very little competition. It would be the type of thing that nobody would be looking for with these tools. And so I think that, for a beginner, someone who's just like looking to get into this, that's the best place to be looking. I would start there. It's similar to anything else. If you were getting in the stock trading or something, you wouldn't be looking at like complex option trades or something, a diagonal condor, triple condor, whatever option trade as your first option trade. You would be probably starting with something much more simple, less complicated. And so that's where I would start, and build a catalog of 10 or 20 of these types of products, get your feet under you. That gives you some leeway to not maybe have the perfect listing, is just simply we maybe not to have the perfect A+ content or the perfect PPC structure or whatever, because again, there's less competition, and as you learn more, you can do more and achieve to do some of these other things. So, on the other question, Megla, in terms of AI tools, we are using quite a bit of AI tools. I'm looking forward to doing the workshop, and it's crazy how quickly things are changing. But the thing that we are using for more than anything is to help write our listings. And so we still go out and do all this, the keyword research like we always have. And we still write our listing like we always have. But then I run that through some of the AI tools, because it makes it sound way better than what I can write. I am not a college graduate, Madison Avenue copywriter, but ChatGPT makes you sound that way. But the tendency with any of these types of things is that people get lazy, or they just want some new tool, whether it's AI or things in the past that have come out, to just you snap your fingers and it does everything for you. AI is very much like anything else in the history of computers, garbage in, garbage out. And so you'd be shocked at the quality of output you can get from these tools if you put the extra work into it to get that out there. So that is what we're doing for the most part. We also have been doing some image stuff that I'll be showing off in India, because what we've really been thinking about recently, and some of these tools aren't quite there yet. They might even be there by the time we get to India. It's happening that quickly. These things are evolving that quickly. But I demoed a really cool thing at Seller Summit, which was an event that you and I were just at together, Megla. Just showing people how you can take. I took a spray bottle from this guy that was in the audience that was nice enough to let me show off his listing, and did a AI background remover, and then all of a sudden put that bottle on a kitchen counter, and this thing that just got generated in front of our eyes with Midjourney. And so I think the thought process is how do you ramp things up, and how do you scale an Amazon business? Basically, time is money, and so if you can do it with less time, it costs you less money. Also, if you're having to hire less graphic, some of these top tier talent type people, you can do a lot of it on your own. So those will be some of the things I'll be showing off in my talk. And so what I learned from my talk at the thing that we were just at is not to do a fully live demo. So I'm going to record some stuff in advance and have some clips that I'll be showing off of some things that I would have done probably on the plane or relatively close to the event, because I want to show off the most recent stuff. But live demos never work. I felt like Bill Gates when he was doing that Windows 98 thing and the blue screen death came up, because everything stopped working at the exact moment that I was trying to do my presentation. So we'll see how it goes.
And so for your listings, and you said you've been using AI tools to enhance your listings, but have you actually seen a difference in terms of conversions or sales?
We have.
You have. Okay.
We have. Yeah. That's something that we keep a really close. It is. I mean, here's the thing. You only need to win by a little bit, right? You don't have to be dramatically better than the next guy. You just got to be a little bit better. I love to use this analogy of the Kentucky Derby. And for those of you who aren't in the United States, this is the biggest horse race of the year in the United States. And the horse that wins the Kentucky Derby gets, let's say, $1 million. The horse that runs second gets $500,000. Doesn't mean that the first place horse ran twice as fast. A lot of times the horse wins by literally a nose or a half a length of a horse. It's just a little bit faster. And so, just eking out little wins is really important. And so having copy that converts at 1% better, 2% better, whatever it might be, oftentimes can be enough to get you one or two more ranking spots above your competitors, right? And so, we've seen a pretty big difference. We're constantly monitoring our conversion rates. It's a really important component to be keeping track of.
Yeah, and the other area where you can use AI too, that we're using it is in our images. So we have VAs who are doing our graphics designs, and they are fantastic graphic designers, but they're not fantastic copywriters. So now all of a sudden, though, they are able to write excellent copy for the images, and it just eliminates one more kind of barrier and obstacle in their job to producing great graphics. And so what it does, it just allows the whole product launch cycle to go just a little bit quicker. So definitely, like Mike talked about, in product descriptions, bullet points, but also in imagery too, whether you're using it yourself or you're working with graphics designers.
Okay, cool. So we've got a couple of questions here. Florence is asking, if I have a product that works well on my e-commerce site, would it automatically be a win on Amazon? Let's say it's launched properly.
No, absolutely not.
No.
No. I mean, there's a lot of examples of products that just don't do well on Amazon, right? I would think about Amazon this way: like Amazon is a search engine, just like Google, and so people have to be looking for the product first, right? It can't be something that's kind of a viral thing, or a high equity brand. Let's say like a really premium brand, because price is such a huge factor on Amazon. There's really a lot of factors that make a good Amazon product, and a lot of factors that make a good Shopify product. And if there's a Venn diagram, there is an overlap for sure. There's definitely brands where, like I was, the first one that popped in my mind is my friend who runs Paul Struck. They're like 50-50, right? They're doing tons of sales on Amazon. They do tons of sales on their own website, but those types of products correlate very well. Versus my other friend, I'll just think of another site, Boardwalk, our friend Matt Meredith that Dave and I both know. They're 100% basically on their own store. They've tried to put their stuff up on Amazon, and it failed miserably. Tons of copycats came in. There was a bunch of IP stuff they were having to deal with, playing a lot of whack-a-mole. Sorry guys, I'm still getting over a cold. I apologize. The cough comes like out of nowhere. And so, you got to be really careful. If you tell me your exact product and your circumstances, your store, if you're wanting to share that here, I'll go take a look. I can probably tell you within a few seconds my feelings on this, but there's definitely not a guarantee one way or the other, right? A very successful product on Amazon might have a very difficult time getting traction on a Shopify store. And a product that does really well in a Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce or whatever store might have a very difficult time getting traction on Amazon. And like I said, there is a Venn diagram where there is that overlap. And if you have that perfect unicorn, congratulations, you definitely have a business that can go off to the races and do quite well. But there is definitely not a guarantee there.
Yeah, what you'd have to do, Florence, is look at why are you succeeding with your own e-commerce site? Is it because of Google traffic? Is most of your traffic coming from Facebook? If most of your sales are coming as a result of traditional Google ads, where there is search intent there, people are searching for fishing rod holders and they go to your website, probably the correlation is high there. That's going to succeed on Amazon, because Amazon is very much a search intent marketplace where people go onto Amazon, they know what they're looking for. It's not a discovery marketplace like TikTok or Facebook where all of a sudden, oh, wow, that's a neat product. I never even knew I needed that. That's not Amazon. So if it's an impulse buying decision that somebody makes with your product where they're scrolling through the Facebook feed and all of a sudden their thumb stops on your product because it really caught their eye, probably not going to do well on Amazon. If it's a product with a lot of search intent around it where people are coming from Google, then onto your website, probably it'll do well on Amazon. But that's really the question, is where are you getting your traffic from? Why are you successful? Generally, Google reliant e-commerce businesses do okay on Amazon. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram reliant businesses don't do as well on Amazon. Just a very broad rule.
A word we use quite often is Amazonable. And the three of us use it a lot, even when we're just, especially referring to, like a new product for Amazon. And even on the trips, we'll sort of, is that Amazonable? If it's not Amazonable, because quite clearly, excuse me, I've got a cluck in my throat too. And so we'd look at that product straight away, and if it's Amazonable or not Amazonable, straight away we have a qualification, you know, in our brain, and as soon as we sort of see that product, it triggers one way or the other. But that's, you know, a few years of doing this particular gig, so you know, you sort of you learn.
And that's something
Yeah.
that we do at the show as well during India sourcing trip. When we're walking around the show, looking at different products in the booths over there. Oh, that's not Amazonable. Yeah, this could be Amazonable.
Yeah, so that word comes up a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, let's see. We
absolutely.
got
I
a
mean,
couple more. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I was just going to give a quick sample of things that are not Amazonable.
Yeah.
Products under a $10 price point, typically, and anything lower than $5 for sure, very difficult to be "quote unquote" Amazonable. So yeah, absolutely. There's huge product categories which just are not Amazonable.
Yeah. And of course, India sourcing trip attendees, you know, I'm again doing a pitch over here for India sourcing trip. So Mike and Dave are going to be on the trip. They're going to be at the fair, walking around with you on the show floor, and they're going to be helping you identify, you know, Amazonable products, or at least share tips and helping you think in the right direction. So do consider joining us in India in October. And on the screen over here, you can see that we have a coupon code. So if you use the code CREW, you get a $300 discount on the trip, and you can go to indiasourcingtrip.com to get more information. And we will be talking about the trip in a little bit. Let's just take a couple more questions that we've got over here. So Amit Goswami is asking, how do I go about growing my brand off Amazon?
Yeah, I can do an entire presentation about this and easily use up all of the rest of the time talking about this one question. So I'm just trying to think of how to consolidate this, because the tendency is to want to go off and grow this non-Amazon thing. So first things first, diversification's great. That word gets used quite a bit, but what are you diversifying? You're diversifying $100,000 a year business or $100 million a year business, right? I mean, there's a time to start thinking about diversification. I mean, realistically, until you're at $5 to $10 million a year on Amazon, there's probably no reason to even be thinking about it. You have a successful business on Amazon that's doing really, really well. That an Amazon business requires a special skill set or particular skill set, and running a Shopify store is a totally different skill set. I started on Shopify or BigCommerce and then went to Amazon. So I learned it in the other order, but it's a totally different skill set. When you're selling on Shopify, you have to go get all the traffic. So you have to go learn how to do that. But on Amazon, they bring you all the traffic, right? And so it's a totally different world. And so off Amazon, you have to learn how you're going to get that traffic, whether that's Facebook ads or TikTok or influencers or email marketing or search engine optimization, Google ads. Something has to bring that traffic to you. And if it's something that you don't have experience with, that's going to be a big hurdle, a much bigger hurdle than learning how to sell on Amazon. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but it's just a big hurdle. And again, this is the problem with entrepreneurs and squirrels, right? It's just like, whoop, I can sell a squirrel. A lot of times people are like, I want to go diversify and get off Amazon. And my advice for most of you is you're probably not big enough yet to even really consider it. Continue to run a lean operation, continue to grow. And when you start to push up against headwind of I can't grow more on Amazon, or I'm now very uncomfortable because all my eggs are in the Amazon basket and I have this life-changing amount of money or net worth of a business in Amazon, yes, then it probably makes sense. But even then, it has to be, you talk about an Amazonable business, well, getting off Amazon and getting sales there, it has to be an off Amazonable business, right? You can't always make that leap. And so when we bought the business that we just sold here on June 2nd, it was 100% Amazon. In that business, I did see an avenue to grow the off Amazon channel, and we did. We got the business to almost 20%. It was like 19% off Amazon by the time we sold it. And when you think about how much we grew Amazon during that time, it was a very significant portion of the business. But it happened to be this perfect unicorn of a business where there was immense SEO opportunity. and this is rare, right? And I this is one of the things I look at when identifying a business and opportunity. And it might suck getting out of bed in the morning. You have all these like, because you're getting older, but with that comes some wisdom. And so over time, you start to learn of, what can work and what can't. And I just, I've been doing SEO since 2003, and saw like just wide open spaces of, I can put up articles about things in this industry that I think can rank relatively easily. And we can do that and move the needle in a relatively short period of time, because we knew we were going to buy and then resell this business. And so we were able to accomplish that. But, if I was looking at another type of business, let's say it was Wild Baby, for instance, we never tried to sell off Amazon there. Like, we put up a website and put up, the website looked good. It was a basic placeholder, and we got the occasional sale here or there. But I felt like the reason we put that website up was simply because people that were looking on Amazon, there is a contingent of people that will go search for the business off Amazon just to see if it's like legitimate, especially with like a kid's product like that. But that's all it was there for. We never intended to ever really grow our sales off Amazon. And so, there's I think a lot to it. If you come on the trip, I would love to talk about this over a beer. I can geek out about. I first of all, I love this stuff, and now that I have less going on, I have even more of a joy of talking to people about this stuff. So I can't wait to meet a lot of you in India and share my thoughts on this type of thing. But this is a pretty complex question. But I would say the thing that I've seen, in my own personal experience, and also through something like EcomCrew, where we're interacting with hundreds of people a year that are asking this question, it's often A, too early, or B, a product that's never going to be successful there. And a lot of it always stems from this like irritation that you're paying Amazon like this 15%, right? It's like, oh man, like I'm giving them 15% of all my business. They don't. Well, that's such a short-sighted thought process, because they also, they take 15% off the top, but they also ship your product for a third of what you're going to ship it for on your own Shopify store. Like Priority Mail, like starting point now is like $14. Like to ship a small light package, and it goes up from there. And then you have to have your own warehouse that you got to pay for, and your own employees, or a 3PL. Someone has to send out the package, right? And so on top of the shipping fee, someone has to do that. And now you have to, like, another headache you have to deal with. And, so it isn't just the 15%. Amazon also deals with returns and a whole bunch of other things. And so I would, encourage you to think about the whole picture. And also, Amazon's a flywheel platform. You really don't want to be taking sales off Amazon and putting them someplace else. You really want to think about your off Amazon business as a completely separate business. And start thinking about like or a different channel, right? Like I have these different channels. You're now graduating to a larger company that Amazon's just a channel, Shopify's just a channel, Walmart's just a channel, and think of it in those terms. And when you think of it that way, like people that are on Amazon, they're already committed to Amazon. They have a Prime account, probably. Their credit cards are already on file. They're shipping 3 other things that in that same box that's coming to their house. They know and trust it's easy. They're doing all their shopping on Amazon. It doesn't make sense to try to pull that customer off Amazon. What you want to be doing is looking for, is there an opportunity? Are there customers that I'm not addressing in this other pool because they're searching on Google, because they just hate Amazon, they're looking someplace else, because it's something that I think I can get traction with influencers, or it maybe makes sense to sell on eBay or Etsy or other Houzz or other platforms where people are looking over there and they're never going to look on Amazon. But trying to get that Amazon customer from Amazon and yanking them someplace else is very difficult and most likely counterproductive to your Amazon business, because you're going to slow down that Amazon flywheel and hurt yourself there. So again, without rambling too much, because I literally can go on about this for literally an hour. Hopefully that gives you some ideas to think about.
I can see
Amit, you've got to come to yes, breakfast in India. And Amit, you've got to come to India and sit down with Mike and Dave and talk about this stuff. And Bill wants butter chicken bought by Dave.
If Bill comes to India, he can buy me butter chicken and I will eat it with him.
You guys will get tons of butter chicken. Don't worry.
And it's all included, so you don't even have to buy it.
Nice.
Exactly. You don't need to buy it. All right. How are you using brand tailored promotions at the moment?
Yeah, so brand tailored promotions, probably a lot of people here aren't really familiar with it, but Amazon just rolled this out 2 weeks ago, and
Oh.
huge shift in Amazon's strategy and what they're allowing sellers to do. Basically, you can now email your customers through Amazon. Now, Amazon kind of tiptoed into these waters last year where they let you email people that were followers of your brand on Amazon, but nobody follows your brand on Amazon. Probably nobody here has any idea how you would even follow a brand on Amazon, but Amazon allowed you to do it. If people were following your brand, you could technically email them promotions. But now with brand tailored promotions, you can email cart abandoners, people who have even viewed your products, people who have clicked your products and not bought. You can basically email any customer and anybody who has even mild interest in your product. The catch is you can't really customize emails a whole bunch, and typically you have to give them a discount. But, 10% discount to a cart abandoner is kind of standard and status quo for a cart abandonment discount. So a huge shift from Amazon in terms of brand tailored promotions and allowing people to email pretty much anybody on Amazon who's interacted with your brand. In terms of how we're using it, we've done a couple of trial emails. Results still aren't really conclusive one way or the other, whether it's going to be a total game changer long term. But it is something we're integrating in Q3 with our team and having them do it on a regular basis. But it's not something we're doing right this second on a regular basis, just for the fact that it's literally just rolled out, and giving the SOP to our team and having them do this on a regular basis it takes time. So come back to me probably at the end of Q3 and I'll give you some more feedback on how we're doing with it. But for anybody listening here, Google Amazon brand tailored promotions. You can get it within your Seller Central. I can't quite remember how you access it in Seller Central, but if you Google brand tailored promotions, it'll give you the link to where you do that in Seller Central. And everybody should start using it, though, and at least trying it out and seeing if it is getting results for you. Because the other thing is it's absolutely free. So probably it will become a paid program at some point, but right now it's free.
We're doing something right, Dave. When I search Amazon brand tailored promotions on Google, it comes up with EcomCrew as the #1 result. So
hey, that's great.
Go.
Wow.
There you go.
The
So forget
SEO experts.
Yeah. Forget everything I said. Just go Google that and go get us the impressions on EcomCrew.
There is a link once you do that on the article that takes you to the right spot.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Vinita, would you recommend to launch many products on Shopify that are not on Amazon? How do you do product research for Shopify?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't do product research for Shopify. That isn't something. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to go do, right? I'm just saying that our approach has not been that. The things that we sell on Shopify are things that we've researched that we want to sell on Amazon, and then there's that crossover, right? So you think about, it depends on. I'll give you a couple of different examples, like ColorIt. I thought of everything as a channel, right? As we were growing that brand, I didn't care where the customers were coming from, as whether it was eBay or Walmart or Etsy, Amazon or Shopify store, a retail shelf. Just like these are all different places I can be selling my products. And so we wanted to have a consistency there, right? Like it was the same SKU everywhere. It was the same price everywhere. We wanted everything to be consistent. No matter where the customer was looking, they were going to get a similar experience. And again, we were building a lot of brand equity there. And we wanted that consistency because a lot of where our traffic came from was Facebook ads, influencers talking about our stuff, before TikTok existed, on YouTube or other places. And so it was really important for me from day one to just not care about any of that, but to keep it consistent everywhere. And so when we sent out emails and communication, it was like we always had go buy it on ColorIt.com or here's a link to go buy it on Amazon. And it was just it didn't really matter. For the brand that we just sold on June 2nd here, again, a home hardware business, just lots of SKUs. We didn't really want overlap there, right? We didn't really want the same SKU both on Amazon or Shopify because one of the things that Amazon, well, they say they don't do it anymore, but they do crawl the web and they can block the buy box and it can cause some other tricky stuff. And so we sold a completely different SKU on Amazon that would be basically impossible for a bot to crawl. And so where we would sell a 12-inch picture hanging cleat on Shopify as an individual piece of hardware, on Amazon it was a 6-pack, right, with all the hardware, with the anchors and the screws and instructions, etc. And we wouldn't sell it that way on Shopify. And so I think you have to kind of think about your approach. Again, there isn't often with anything, there really isn't a cookie cutter answer to this stuff. You have to kind of think through all the permutations, all the things that are going to affect you long term. And there's 2 really great examples of very different approaches, both of which were correct, in my opinion, for those 2 different brands.
Right. So Vinita, hope to see you on India sourcing trip again. Vinita did attend our trip last year, and she's going to be in India in October as well. Okay, last question, and then we'll start talking about India sourcing trip real quick. So on the note that products less than $10 are not Amazonable, I see products in home and kitchen selling a lot that are under $10, even under $7. I couldn't figure out the math behind their margin. So is there a margin at all for this price point, or is it simply a strategy to increase the brand visibility on Amazon?
Yeah, so in my opinion, the biggest issue with the sub $10 price points, like you talked about, Iqbal, is just the low margins. And typically in the sub $10 price points, it's almost exclusively Chinese sellers. And of third-party sellers on Amazon, about 60 to 70% are Chinese. And so it gets very, very tough when you're competing for pennies to compete against Chinese sellers. That's why overall, in general, my strategy is to target items above $50, because then you're not competing for pennies, you're competing for dollars, and trying to compete against Chinese sellers who are typically going to have slightly better margins than you. It's just a lot easier. So generally that's what's happening, is it's almost all Chinese sellers and they're competing for pennies. Sometimes what also happens in these price categories is that you're competing against Chinese sellers, sometimes factories who are basically selling those products at a loss or a break even, because they have to, during their production runs, they have to produce so many and they're going to have to produce that excess inventory regardless. And so they can dump it onto the Amazon marketplace. So that's why it just is very, very tricky to compete on those sub $10 items. The counter to that,
I was just going to say real quick, it'll be interesting to see what happens when small and light program goes away here in a few weeks. That's probably going to affect things quite a bit.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. And so if people aren't aware, the small and light program, Amazon's kind of phasing it out into basically rolling it into a new fee category on Amazon for under £2 or whatever it is. So yeah, it's drastically changing small and light products. So just something for everyone here to be aware of is that, yeah, the small and light program is pretty soon going to be no longer a thing.
Right. Great advice there, guys. Thank you so much for answering all of these questions. So let's now talk about India sourcing trip. And for those of you who are not familiar with the events, let me just give a quick overview, and then I'm going to ask Mike and Dave what they're most excited about for the trip. So first of all, there are 2 events that we are hosting in October. One is Ecom India Summit. Now, this is a 2-day conference to help you sell globally, whether it's on Amazon.com or Europe or Japan. It's all about selling globally. And this conference is mostly for India-based sellers and manufacturers who want to scale their business and who want to sell globally. But of course, the content is going to be relevant for anybody, regardless of where you're from. And Mike is also going to be doing an AI workshop a day before Ecom India Summit. So that is going to be on October 7th. So we've got a half-day workshop on October 7th. Then we've got the main Ecom India Summit on October 8th and 9th. So that's one event. And all attendees of India Sourcing Trip can attend this 2-day conference for free. So you can go to ecomindiasummit.com to get more information about the conference, see all of the speakers. Of course, Mike and Dave are speakers, and we've got a lot of other experts coming in from Australia, from the UK. We've got Ben Leonard from UK, Chris Thomas, John Polidin, who sources a lot of products from India. He's got very established brands as well. And we've got Ritu Java from PPC Ninja. And we've got Sean Hart, who does a lot of marketing and specifically email marketing. So we've got a really good lineup of speakers. And this event, again, is absolutely free for attendees of India Sourcing Trip. So 7th, 8th, 9th, that's Ecom India Summit. And then India Sourcing Trip starts from October 10th and goes to the 17th, 10th to the 17th. So Amit, you're asking about the dates. 10th to the 17th are the dates for India Sourcing Trip. And then we also have additional factory tours that are optional to join from the 17th to the 19th. So if you want to join the entire trip, it's 10th to the 19th. It's a long trip, but you're coming all the way over here. Might as well make the most of your time in India and do as much as possible. So for the trip itself, there are basically 3 aspects of the trip. First of all, we focus on learning. So we do a full day conference where we teach you everything about sourcing from India. We've got a lot of experts talking about how to find suppliers, vetting suppliers, negotiating, logistics, quality control, cultural sensitivities, and we're going to be doing a lot of case studies as well of people who are already sourcing from India. And then, of course, we do mastermind sessions. We've got all of these experts accompanying the group, and they're available to answer any questions and have discussions, and there are a lot of networking sessions. So there's a lot of learning. That's number 1. Second is sourcing. So we visit a trade show that is an export-focused trade show. It's called the Indian Handicrafts and Gifts Fair. It's a 3-day trade show that is, it's got about 3,000 exhibitors, all export-focused, and we go to the fair for 3 days. And of course, all of our experts are with us during the trade show. So we also do guided tours where you can have, one of the experts accompany you as you walk around the show and help you identify Amazonable products. We also have a lot of sourcing experts with the group. We've got logistics experts, quality control. And so all of these experts are available to you during the trip in case you have any questions related to anything about sourcing from India or building an e-commerce brand with India products. And then the third aspect of the trip is cultural experience. So we basically help you, we get you to experience Indian culture. There's so much culture and history in India that, and of course the food as well. We put in a lot of effort to, select the right kinds of food for you and make sure that you get a good taste of all of the different types of cuisines in India. We also do a trip to Taj Mahal, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. And the highlight of our trip is our Bollywood night. That is a world famous event, and you'll see lots of different people dancing. So we dress up in Indian clothes, and Mike and Dave, I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have to start practicing our moves now, which is basically, yes, exactly, you got it.
Dave's got it.
My one arm was off the screen, but I am patting the dog.
Yeah.
Yes. Pat the dog, screw the bulb.
Pat the dog, put the light bulb. Yeah. Pat the dog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, simple moves. We'll start with simple moves.
Yeah.
But that's a very fun night where we have a live dance troupe and we have music and dance, and it's just a lot of fun, and everybody's dressed up in Indian clothes, and we've got saris for the ladies, and we've got long Indian dresses for men. So it's a really, really good experience. So that's the gist of the trip. And then, of course, after the trip on the 17th, we also have optional factory tours, and we're going to 2 different cities this time, 2 trips going simultaneously to 2 different cities. One trip is going to Moradabad, which is basically where a lot of the wooden and metal products are manufactured. Now, Moradabad is a production hub for these kinds of products, and there's a ton of history, like hundreds of years of history of producing these kinds of products. So if you're looking for, any type of metal home decor or, wooden gift items, etc., that's the city to go to. And again, we're only going to be visiting export-focused manufacturers. And then the second city that we're going to be going to is Jaipur. This city is, of course, got a lot of culture and history as well, a lot of monuments, but it's mostly famous for jewelry a lot of apparel, cotton, block printed apparel, other types of fabrics and textiles, and then also leather products, some wooden items, wooden furniture, variety of different types of products in Jaipur as well. So we're going to be spending about 2.5 days in these cities, and you can choose one of the two. You can't go to both cities because the trips are simultaneous, and so you can choose one of the two. All right, so Bill is asking for the cost. Now, this is an all-inclusive trip, Bill. So once you pay the fee for the trip, you don't have to open up your wallet when you're in India. Like, all you need to do is arrive at the Delhi airport, and from there on, everything is covered, including hotels. And we stay in 5-star hotels, and the food and transportation. We even pick you up from the airport. We give you a SIM card if you need one. And we also help you with your visas and your tickets. And, we do a lot of pre-trip webinars as well to help you prepare for the trip, because, India can be overwhelming for the first-time traveler. It's very different. It's not like the US or Australia. It is a developing country. So we do a lot of prep before the trip. And then after the trip, we provide support as well if you need help, contacting suppliers or negotiating or placing orders. So there's a lot of support after the trip as well. In terms of cost, there are two options. You can go for a single room where you are, one person in one hotel room, and the cost for that is $5,000. And if you want to share a room with somebody else, if you want to bring a business partner, or maybe we can pair you with another attendee, the cost for that is $4,500. And then the optional factory tours are separate. They're about $700 to $800. So Bill, I hope that answers your question. And of course, you get a $300 discount if you use the code CREW on the website indiasourcingtrip.com. And Loise was actually there in October, and she's saying, anyone thinking of going, go! It is the most wonderful, informative, fun trip. These three wonderful people know how to organize everything. Fantastic.
Well, thank you, Lois.
Yes. That's something that we really take pride in. The trip is very well organized, and everything just moves like clockwork. Of course, there's a lot of activity happening in the background, but for attendees, it's like very smooth. And if you can read your WhatsApp or your Telegram messages, that's all you need to do. You'll be given instructions. Okay, be here at so-and-so time, and, be here at this time. So absolutely. And CJ was on the trip as well. She says, worth every penny. And having been there, I have to say that no one can do India like this group. I think this is Andy, isn't it? I think this is Andy. I can't see his name, but I saw him in the group. It's Andy.
Doesn't even look like Andy. It doesn't even look like Andy in the picture.
Yeah. Yes, Bill, it's USD. That's right. $4,500 and $5,000 USD. Yeah. And Vinita was there on the trip as well. Exactly, Lois. These three people are wonderful. I love it. Aw, thank you, Vinita. Rashmi was there on the trip as well. Yes, look at that. All of our ex-trip attendees.
Having a reunion.
Yeah, very knowledgeable trip. Yes,
Megla,
thank you.
I was just going to add that if there's anybody that's in, at the Ecom group that are listening to this now, that are thinking of maybe coming on a trip, but maybe they're thinking Jaipur or Moradabad are not really, the product centers where they're looking at. If there's any other regions that you're interested in, our team can organize a trip tailored for you to go to a particular region if you so wish in that time. So, all the doors are open. All you got to do is walk through them, guys. So, we're all, our team in India is sensational. They'll organize anything for your every wish, so to speak. And so, nothing's out of bounds, Megla.
Absolutely. And we're doing that for a lot of the current. Yeah. Some of the current trip attendees, they want to source other products. So we are organizing trips for them outside of the main trip. They're going to a different city. One person wants to do towels. So we're organizing a day trip for her to another city where there are some towel manufacturers. So she'll leave early in the morning, and we're booking all her domestic tickets and all. She'll leave there early in the morning, visit suppliers during the day, and then be back in the evening. So yeah, we're very flexible in terms of helping customize the trip for you. CJ says, if you did this trip on your own, it would cost more. It's an amazing trip, both culturally and for your business, and the value is incredible. Thank you, CJ. Thank you so much. Yeah. And the other thing that I should mention, and Mike and David, and we didn't discuss this previously, but I'm just going to say it out there and hopefully you'll agree. So anybody who uses the code CREW will also get a 1 year's free access to Ecom Premium, right? EcomCrew Premium, which is Mike and Dave's exclusive mastermind, where you get access to Mike and Dave, their live webinars. They provide 100%, email support. And Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit more about EcomCrew Premium?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an evolution, because Dave and I have been doing EcomCrew now for so long. We started out with a course, and then we had like a second course, and then a third course, and then it was just like, I feel like we're nickel and diming people to death, and let's just put it all together, because we're not salespeople, and I hate that feeling of constantly asking people for more money. And so we put together EcomCrew Premium. It's an annual fee. You get access to all of the training that we've ever done. If we add anything new, it includes that. But you also get email support from us. We do twice monthly webinars. We can come on the webinar and ask us any question, interact with us just like this, but there's fewer people, and we're there for 2 hours. So you can really get in-depth answers to questions, and from people that have been through this stuff. And we have courses on, how to create a 7-figure brand. We have an Amazon course itself. I think the course that we're going to be launching this year, because we kind of add one every year. I think this year's course is going to be on Amazon PPC, because we're deep diving into that. So we're trying to hold our feet to the fire to get that out by the end of this year. But yeah, it's a small community of 300-ish people. We have like 60-something% renewal rate every year. It's normally $2,000 a year, so it's a pretty good value. So if anyone uses this code, they not only will get $300 off, but we'll give you access to EcomCrew Premium, and also chat with you in India. But we'll do that either way. So.
And look, I'd like to just say, I think anyone who's coming on this trip, I know the trip's fantastic. We do so much in the fair, but to just be able to spend the days with Mike and Dave. And I mean, we're usually up and down in the restaurant before 6:30 or something in the morning, and we're still usually around the place at 10:30, or some people are still around at midnight. And I don't know about these boys, but so you've got plenty of time to actually ask questions and learn, and it's going to be all for free because you're there and you've got access to them. You can be sitting on the bus with them, go to the Taj Mahal, talk to them, as you're walking around. So it's an opportunity to learn a lot of information that you're not going to get anywhere else for free. And listening to these guys today, I just think they know so much. You've just got to just get a little bit of that, and you're on your way to success.
We'll give out EcomCrew Premium for free, but I'm not getting up at 6:30 in the morning.
You will, but you'll miss the bus otherwise. You'll have breakfast for you.
No breakfast. I'll be the midnight guy holding down the midnight show for you. But
okay.
6:30 a.m. doesn't. Oh man, that sounds brutal.
It's one or the other, right?
Yeah. The only time Dave and I have ever seen 6:30 a.m. and this is true, is we've been out all night, and the sun's now come up, and we're still at it at 6:30. But yeah.
The one hope though, Mike, is at 6:30 a.m. we will still be on American time.
Well, that's
by the time we get there.
Another concern altogether that I'm worried about a little bit, but yeah.
You have to, or you'll miss the bus. Cool. So what are you guys most excited about, about the trip? So Mike, you go first.
Yeah, I probably would, break it up into business and then personal, right? Because I think it's two very separate things. And from a business perspective, I think back to like when I first went to the Canton Fair and how excited I was to find these products and the opportunity, and which led to all the success that we had on Amazon. But just like anything else in business, I mean, the only thing constant is change, right? And now I feel like the walls are kind of closing in on the opportunity of sourcing from China. Like everyone's kind of figuring it out now. It's kind of a rat race. Both the Chinese manufacturers and individual Chinese people are all like kind of racing to get these types of products on Amazon, and it's become very flooded. And so it's really exciting to me to see a whole, like basically another whole economy, that's at the stage that I was at in 2015 or 16 when I first went to China for the first time at the Canton Fair, because it was, very young back then. So I think, now we have all this, personally, I have all this Amazon experience, and I'm finding this untapped market of India, which is this huge country with lots of opportunity for products. It's very intriguing to me, especially at a time where I just divested from a whole bunch of other businesses, and I have some bandwidth to get into some other stuff starting next year. Excuse me. So that is very, very intriguing to me. I think it's the old Wayne Gretzky quote, you want to be skating to where the puck is going, not where it is. And the puck is in China right now. Everyone's already there. And so looking at India, very intriguing. Personally, I've always wanted to go to India. I'm a traveler. I've been to 58 countries, and somehow one of those is not India. I love Indian food, love Indian culture. I love Megla. Like, we've known each other for a long time. She's always taken really good care of me and my wife when she's been on the trips with me. And I know that we're going to be in store for that. India is the kind of place, I think, where even though I've been to a lot of countries and I can get by in just about any situation, it's nice to have someone kind of holding your hand through a little bit of this. So I just don't know that there's ever going to be a better time in my life to go to India. And so I'm super excited about it. I'm looking forward to seeing the Taj Mahal, just experiencing Indian culture, experience like real Indian food in India. Megla treated me to some Indian food in Singapore, which was amazing. But I think that I'm in for even a better Indian food actually in India. So and I'm also looking forward to hanging out with Dave. We don't get to spend a lot. He's up in Vancouver. I'm in Vegas usually. We always have a blast together. These types of trips we've done in China and other parts of the world in the past, Hong Kong, and they're just really enjoyable. It's a time like where you end up meeting lifelong friends. Like, there's always one or two characters that you really hit it off with that 5 or 10 years later. You're still talking about the $80 crab that Mike bought at the street market, and without realizing it, Dave's favorite story about me at Hong Kong. So, I think it's overall just going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I kind of echo.
We're looking forward to spending time with you guys too. So, it's a two-way street there for sure.
Yeah. And to echo everything that Mike said, again, the personal side, obviously, same thing with me. India has always been on my bucket list. Never had an opportunity to go. So wanted to go pre-COVID, but then COVID hit. And so that never happened. From a business perspective, again, as Mike said, this is where the puck is going. And I know from experience where you might be able to do this trip on your own, but when you can go there, people who are knowledgeable and kind of know the ropes and they can show you the ropes, it's just going to be this much easier. It's going to be that much quicker. You're going to find opportunities that you might not see otherwise. So from a business perspective, going with Megla and going with Kevin and Margaret and everybody else there, I don't think there's any replacing that. And definitely, I don't think it's something I would want to take on my own, to go to India and try to start sourcing on my own without anybody kind of showing me around. Because like Mike said, when the first time I went to China, I had people helping me along that way. Unfortunately, I don't have that same network in India. And so this kind of is that network. And then the other thing, like someone here had actually mentioned in the Facebook group too, is the networking part. So Megla, you talked about, you can come meet Mike and Dave. You can talk with Mike and Dave. Well, it goes the same way too. Like Mike and I are looking forward to chatting with people that are coming to the trip. And we can almost certainly learn a lot from everybody else there. So the networking opportunity, for me at least, that can't be matched in a networking event in America or Canada, just because when you're in a new country and everything's new and exciting, just the creative juices flow all that much heavier and just great ideas come about. So from the networking side of things, really looking forward to that too.
Absolutely. I mean, networking with all of the experts over there and also networking with other sellers, because a lot of the sellers on the trip, I mean, of course, everybody's looking to source from India, but a lot of the sellers are very well-established, brands who are already sourcing from China and they're looking to diversify. So there's a lot of learning and exchange of ideas with other attendees as well. And Rashmi says, one thing no one should miss is factory visits to Muradabad. Yes, so factory visits to Muradabad or Jaipur this time, we've got two different options. And that's an eye-opener too. I mean, there aren't too many factories in and around Delhi. So that's why we have to visit, different cities to actually go see how products are manufactured. Okay, last comment here, and then we'll,
Yeah, the only thing I was going to mention too, the first factory we started working with for one of our brands is actually in Muradabad. So,
okay.
Don't know if we will still be there for that side of it. Really trying to make the trip work in that regard, but I think for a lot of people here, they'll get a lot of value in going over there because I know a lot of the suppliers in our niche, they are based in Muradabad. So, it sounds like a great opportunity to visit that side of India. Or I guess it's not even that side. It's a couple hours away from it in Delhi, according to Google.
Yeah, it's about four hours from Delhi by road. Cool. All right, so last comment here.
It's an interesting trip by road anyway, Dave.
Yeah. One of the most important factors that many people forget is that going on an organized trip like this, you access a relationship to like-minded sellers. This relationship lasts forever. I can also verify that the manufacturers in India respect Meghla and her team with the highest esteem. Focus on what you're doing and spend time on your development. If you want to grow, you need to go. That's right. I mean, I've been in the sourcing industry for over 20 years. I was in China for 10 years, and I've recently come back to India. And we've built a really good network, with suppliers, with India Sourcing Network. Apart from the trips, we also help people source products from India. So we built a really good network of suppliers. And in India, it's all about relationships. That's something else that I want to point out, that when you're on this trip and you're meeting suppliers in person, that is totally different from reaching out to suppliers online or by email. I mean, you'll just notice the difference once you're back. The way that they respond to your messages really quickly, they go out of their way to help you and to prioritize your orders, for example. And the replies on WhatsApp or by email are so instantaneous. So you'll really notice a huge difference, because when you travel to India, they know that, okay, you're a serious buyer, you're really looking to invest in the business. And I mean, suppliers want serious buyers, they want long-term relationships. So they really treat buyers who they meet in person very differently from buyers that they just meet online. So guys, I mean, if you're in the Amazon e-commerce world, if you have a brand, you're already sourcing from China, you must look at other countries to diversify, and India is one of the main competitors to China, so to speak.
And Meghla, we put a lot of the dots together for the professional people that we've sort of brought together, the solicitors, the QA people, the shipping, freight forward, all those people. We have been working with them for a long time. We know them well. We know that they do offer the services they offer, and we can guarantee the services they offer. And so those dots, sometimes when you go into a new market, they're very hard to connect. But
Exactly.
we can guarantee that we sort of connect you to the right dots. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. We stand behind the service providers that we have. We've been working with them for many years. We worked with different types of service providers, and now we've got this really good group of reliable service providers, and it's sort of like a Rolodex that we have, that we share with everybody. And it can take many years for someone to find a good sourcing agent or a good shipper or a good quality control service providers. So that's another huge benefit. When you come to India, you've got all of these service providers handed to you on a platter. Yeah. I can say you won't be sorry if you join this trip. It's just so good. Thank you, Andy. Andy was there with us on one of the trips as well. All right, awesome. So Mike and Dave, anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
Looking forward to seeing everybody. I think this is unprecedented. We usually don't give away EcomCrew Premium memberships. Like I said, we usually sell those for $2,000 a year. So that's just for people on this webinar. I think just for today or the next couple of days if you're making up your mind. But that's another $2,000 in value. Really looking forward to meeting as many people as we possibly can over there and hanging out. Like I mentioned before, just super excited about the trip, and it's kind of nuts that it's already only 2 months away. I always kind of think about things in like my next trip. So like I'm on a trip right now, so it'll kind of hit me when I get home, and it's like the countdown is really on for the India trip. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool.
Well, Mike, now you're passing 50, mate. It goes quicker.
I haven't passed 50 yet. Not yet. Don't push me over that. I said you're getting close to 50. I haven't passed it yet. I might pass it on that flight though. That's what it's gonna feel like. It's a long ways over there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and my yeah, really looking forward to it as well, and looking forward to breaking out these Bollywood moves I've been working on in my spare time.
Fantastic. Yeah, and we're really looking forward to spending time with you, and I'm sure all of the attendees will really find it valuable to spend time with you and chat with you. You guys have got so much experience in brand building in Amazon, e-commerce, SEO, just so much experience in a variety of areas.
Whole deal.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mike and Dave, for joining us. We were supposed to do this for an hour, but it's been 1.5 hours now. But it's been really, really valuable, and we look forward to seeing you in India.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day or night, depending on where you're in the world.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, everyone. And everyone joining us, don't forget, use the code CREW for $300 off and go to indiasourcingtrip.com.